welcome to another episode of Leading Las Vegas. I'm Danielle Ford of DanielleFord.com, and this is Alexia Vernon. You guys, I have been trying for months to get Alexia on the show. She was actually like top of my list. I adore this woman. We have some kind of very unique history. We met in New York at an event. How long ago was that? That was like 2000.
I was thinking about that maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It's been a long time.
So we live in Vegas, been here a long time, and had to go to New York to meet each other. And thankfully we did, because Alexia has done so much to just change my life. I'm going to tear up.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if you guys know the whole story about my TED Talk, but I gave a TED Talk a few years ago on the topic of teen motherhood, and it was the first time I was ever on stage. And that's pretty crazy, okay? I see these speakers, these, you know, authors and congresswomen and people like that are giving TED Talks, and I was like just a teen mom with a message, wanting to get on stage, and with Alexia's help, I was able to deliver a TED Talk that really set the bar kind of high and opened up so many opportunities for me in my business and with my passion. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
And I'm going to...
It was earned. It was very earned.
I'm going to pass the mic over to Alexia because I want her to articulate what it is she does, because it's so much stuff and so powerful, and I want to make sure that you guys are able to connect with her and get the full gist of all of your epicness.
Thank you. So my focus is working with entrepreneurs and change makers, primarily women, who are looking to use public speaking to be able to reach a bigger audience, make a positive impact, and grow revenue. Yep. And I work with folks who are really interested in creating what I call multiple streams of revenue, meaning they might want to give a TEDx talk where there's no compensation necessarily, but it's beautiful for thought leadership. But they also want to be leading live events. They want to be giving keynotes. They want to be doing workshops and retreats. They understand that speaking live is a phenomenal way not only to be able to make impact, but to be able to connect with your audience and have them fall in love with you.
I love it. And you guys, she has a really awesome Facebook group. If you're interested in being a paid speaker, I highly suggest you join it, as well as her programs that we'll talk about towards the end a little bit. But I always like looking through the group. Even if I don't participate, I'll kind of just like read what's happening.
And you too, though. You're such
I do
a
participate,
giver.
yeah.
You are.
But one of the posts like several months ago totally changed my pricing, my speaking pricing. I was like, oh crap, when I saw what other people were charging for the same thing I was doing. So if you guys are interested in learning how to actually charge what you're worth and get some resources for that, hit up her free Facebook group.
And it's called the Spotlight Speakers Salon.
Yeah, it'll be in the blog post. So go to that and you can click it right through to it. So one thing that I have seen that I've loved watching Alexia turn into a mother and grow as a mother, because I knew you for a few years before
I even thought I wanted to be a mom.
Right. And I just think it's amazing when you see somebody who's so, you know, you give back to the community and you're everywhere, and then all of a sudden it's switched, but you're involved with your daughter so much and shaping her into obviously a leader. Can you talk about your experience with already having a successful platform and then maintaining it?
Yes.
When becoming a mom?
So I define my business as before my daughter and after my daughter. And what I mean by that is I really loved the business that I had up until I gave birth. And throughout my pregnancy, it was a phenomenal year. I had crossed the 6-figure mark. I was working 20 to 25 hours a week. I was doing a lot of getting on planes for pleasure, though, to go and speak. And
even hugely pregnant.
Even hugely pregnant, yeah. Like that week, I think it's like 36 or 37 weeks that the airlines say you can't fly anymore. That was when I ended.
Yeah.
And then I gave birth to my daughter, and I had this vision that I would just bring her and my mom or a nanny, and we would get on airplanes, and I would give my speaking gig, or I would do my speaking gigs, and that is so not what happened. Not because I couldn't do that, but I just realized that's not what I want to do. I want to be home. I don't want to be living on airplanes, and I don't want my business to be 100% about me needing to get in front of audiences, because it requires, as much as I adore it, a level of time and energy that I can't do in the way that I did before she was in the world. And so that was really the moment when I started creating more online training content. Up until that point, obviously I had a website, but I wasn't doing online programs at all. So I built during the first 6 months that my daughter was born, all around nap time. I was still at a phase where I couldn't get myself to hire a nanny because I felt so much guilt about saying, I brought my daughter into the world. I have a good financial safety net. Why would I bring in outside help? And I'm not recommending that, just owning where I was. And so I was creating these my first online training program during nap times, realizing this is not sustainable at all. And it took me probably a year and a half to finally get myself to a place where I could bring in outside help 25 hours a week. But what my business looks like now is radically different than before my daughter. So there are online programs. I run a 10-month mastermind for entrepreneurs who want to be speaking, which is where over 50% of my income comes from. We've got a couple online programs at this point, and then I still do speak, I still do train, and I do live events.
The great thing that I love about you is you always, you have these paid programs and you teach people how to create revenue, but you give away a lot for free too.
I try to.
Yeah, so basically everything you have has some sort of free element that's going to give a lot of value, like your hotshot speaker. I love that. What would you say, maybe some of the content that's in your free stuff, if somebody is just trying to become a speaker, but they maybe don't feel like they're at the top of their industry or they are having imposter syndrome, what are some tips you have to just get on the stage or do it the right way from the beginning?
Beginning with what's that idea that you want to be known for, and that can feel really overwhelming because what happens for so many folks, whether you are killing it in your career or you're just starting out and you're in the infancy, is that sense of everything that's worth being said is already being said by somebody who's a far bigger platform for me. And we even dealt with this a little bit. I'm not the first teen mom who's ever wanted to give a presentation before. However, you are the first person who can ever deliver that content your way. And your way doesn't just mean with your story, although story is important. It also means with your voice, with your point of view, with your flavor. So being able to start by saying, this is the idea that I want to be known for, even if I'm not exactly sure how I want to say it, and then starting to look at what are the experiences that are unique to me? What are the stories that I can tell that can help an audience be able to understand this topic from my vantage point? And then there's all kinds of resources, whether it's mine or somebody else's, to help you both with the structure of that talk so that it's compelling, also how to be able to book that talk, and just as importantly what the monetization plan is, because there's so many of us, and myself included, who start booking gigs and we go and we speak and we either get paid nothing or a modest honorarium, and we don't understand how to be able to use that speaking gig as an opportunity to have clients coming up to us saying, I want to work with you, and having the right premium packages for them to do that.
I have personally dealt with that, and you don't realize when you're getting into speaking that there's so many options. Sometimes you can sell from stage, sometimes you can't, sometimes you get paid and that's it. Like, there's so many, and you give a different presentation based on what that is going to be. So that is something I've had to kind of learn the hard way. I probably should have gone to you and been like, teach me all the things.
And for those of you who are online, because I know a lot of your community is, this doesn't have to replace being online.
Right.
I find that it's a really nice compliment. And from a conversion standpoint, if you're giving a webinar, typically somebody might convert in the 8 to 12% range. At this point, I'm converting a lot higher because I've been doing this for a while. But when somebody's in front of their right audience, whether you've self-produced a workshop or you're going, let's say, to a business group and they are your target and you're giving a presentation and you do it in the way that I teach, where it's a combo of vulnerability, perspective, and there's a really specific call to action that's enticing, it's not unlikely that you will convert at 20, 25, and for me these days it's more like 40% of that right audience. So and convert doesn't necessarily mean, okay, people rush to the back of the room, which is kind of like that old school early aughts model. That sometimes is not classy, and a lot of event organizers don't want that. But even having just a genius digital guide that you have the right postcard for, that people opt in for, and then you have your funnel in terms of what you do with them on the back end after, that's how a speaking gig can pay you back many times over.
Have you done, I've kind of been experimenting with, if I give a free talk, I want to get a lot of value from it. So I will record it and then put it on Facebook and kind of
That's a great idea too. And certainly if you're starting out and you want footage to be able to book more of those high profile gigs, being able to take that and then have somebody curate that best reel
Totally. Do you talk about that in any of your programs of how to
I
create
do.
that? Yeah, that's money right there, especially for your website.
Yeah.
Totally legit. One last thing I wanted to ask you, I wanted to ask how this transpired, because I know how much Stephen loved his job, but now your husband's working with your business,
Yes.
in your business. So how did that happen, and how has that been so far? I know it's a recent development.
Yes, I think we're on week 3 of my husband having joined my business as COO, so it's very new. By the time you watch this, we'll be further along.
Yeah.
There were a few moments where we knew this was the right next step. One of the biggest was me having an awareness that I've grown a really phenomenal virtual team. Like, I swear, I have the best virtual team members any entrepreneur could possess, yet none of them live in Las Vegas. And there's really a COO role that's necessary. I need to fire myself from being the person who's project manager, administrator, event manager. And as much as my team would step up, there was just still a gap. And when I looked at what my husband's role was, he was a project manager, he was overseeing a large team, it just seemed to make a lot of sense. But truthfully, one of the biggest reasons above all was for quality of life. The reason I started my business initially was not to be able to support a family because I didn't have a child yet, but it was to have freedom and flexibility for myself. And then what I realized is I created a business that sort of gave me freedom and flexibility, but my husband's work required him to be gone Monday to Friday most weeks. So if we wanted to be able to have freedom and flexibility together rather than me gallivanting on trips for my business alone, or with my child and with somebody else along watching her, this step needed to happen. So I don't want to suggest that it's been rainbows and cupcakes. Us working together has been phenomenal, but you realize after 10 years, this is my 10th year in business, how much of the business lives in here and does not live in a document. So it's been interesting trying to take all of this and give it to him and not have him feel like he's working for me, but rather we are really co-leading this business, even if I was the one who started it.
Well, and that's a role you can't just give anybody. You have to really trust that person, and they have to understand your thinking. And who better than your husband, right? That's awesome. Thank you for. I know a lot of women aspire to like retire their husband or bring them into their business. So that is like.
My husband laughs at that phrase. He's like, I've seen it everywhere now. This whole retire my husband thing. And I don't want to suggest he's retired. I mean, he's at home right now,
still
like
working,
hustling.
He just like work from home husband. Totally, I love it. So we talked a little bit about the Hotshot Speaker and the community, but where else can people find you if they want to reach out to you, talk to you, connect, learn more, get some free trainings, join your paid programs?
So across social media, I'm Alexia Vernon. I try to keep it simple. And then I'm seriously in love with the women and men. We have some amazing men in the Spotlight Speaker Salon Facebook group because it's a place for people to be able to ask questions. And we have folks who are incredibly elementary and folks who are 6-figure plus speakers in that group, and everybody in all those shades of gray between those two poles. I also post opportunities if I hear whether it's on the TEDx side or the conference side. And for someone who's not coaching with me, it's a great way to be able to ask quick questions. And I'm in there several times a week giving answers.
I love it. You can stay in the know by being part of that group.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show. I know this was amazing value for the audience and the viewers, and you guys hit up Alexia, find her. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Thank you again so much. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in another episode of Leading Las Vegas. Bye, guys. If you loved this episode of Leading Las Vegas, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. You can also watch more episodes like this here or on leadinglasvegas.com.